Hello there, Mandy here. Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart is not just a podcast. It's also a book, a free online grief group, and a one-on-one private coaching practice. If you are interested in learning more, visit mandykapehart.com to find out how restorative grief can help you heal heart, mind, body, and spirit. Welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. You are listening to episode 239, titled Above the Clouds with Jon Hill. What happens after the moment that everything changes? What if our grief doesn't look the way we expect it to, and healing doesn't either? Well, today's guest knows that journey firsthand. After losing his father, writer and filmmaker Jon Hill spent more than a decade shaping that experience into something deeply human and unexpectedly hopeful. In his daily life, Jon produces content for some of the biggest stages in sports, but his deeply personal and funny feature film, Above the Clouds, turns that lens inward, exploring loss, connection, and the quiet ways that humor can help carry us forward. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Restorative Grief with Mandy Capehart. I am your host, Mandy, and today my guest is filmmaker Jon Hill, the writer and director of the indie feature Above the Clouds. He's a two-time Emmy award-winning producer and current director of creative video at Fox Sports Digital. Jon has spent years creating stories for some of the biggest stages in sports, but this project is far more personal. After losing his father, Jon devoted more than a decade to developing Above the Clouds, a film that explores grief, identity, and the unexpected ways that new connections and even humor can help us to move forward. Jon, welcome
Hey,
to the
wow.
show.
What a great intro. I
Thank
feel
you.
like I'm on NPR. This is
Yes,
great.
we are
You have
very
such a,
professional.
yeah, you have such a calming voice. I was like, who is this person you're talking about?
Thank you.
I was like,
I
I want
know
to
I
meet
can.
him. I want to meet him.
I
I think
want to
we'd be
meet him
friends.
too. It's very exciting. I'm so glad you feel that way because that is something that, of course, when we're working and talking about loss, is we need a presence with someone who can make us feel safe and really help us get into a space where we start exploring our own experience. And I feel like your story with deciding to develop a film is a perfect invitation. But I'm curious, take me back to that period of time after your father passed and when you first realized your experience was going to be best expressed through this film.
Wow. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I would say so the movie Above the Clouds, which is streaming now, is based on a true story. And it actually is based off a short film that I made because not long I was I think I was 25 years old and my dad passed away. And I live in Los Angeles, but I grew up in Philadelphia. So I went back home to be with him while he was sick, and then I went back home to kind of help the family, sell the house, do all the things you have to do, all the
Mhm.
stuff you don't realize you have to do to deal with the parent's loss or losing a parent. And I come back to LA and I go to a coffee shop and I just want to. I was writing my friend a letter and I met the stranger. And then we started talking and she. I think her cat was sick in real life. I changed it to her dog is missing in the movie. There are some adaptions, but yeah, we ended up spending the whole day together. It was this magical day, and I remember that day. I posted back then. This was 15 years ago. Everyone was on Tumblr. Tumblr was the TikTok, and I remember posting one day this is the craziest day. Like one day this is going to be a movie. Like it just felt like this. Like how do you meet a stranger and then you're going through a tragedy and loss, and then you go hang out all day and you learn about each other and you talk, and then you find out something that she's dealt with her personal thing, and then it was like, oh my gosh, like this doesn't happen in real life. This only happens in movies, you know. Um, and then so I think a few days later, Twitter. Um, had a contest with Nikon, the film company, of your day in 140 seconds. Because back then you could only type in 140 characters in Twitter. Because back then it was called Twitter. Uh, and so I was like, I can't believe I just had this incredible day. Like, we should try, you know? And so I recreated the day in a short film, and we were one of the finalists.
Mm.
And it was incredible. I really, and then the grand prize was like $100,000, and I just thought, oh, this is it, right? This is the fairy tale ending, right? My dad passes away, but then I use that to make this film, and then I get $100,000, and it jumpstarts my career and my life, and I can retire. $100,000 at that time would have provided for me forever. But we didn't win, but we made a good short, and that idea stuck with me forever.
Mm.
And I think also too the amount of people who came out of the woodworks either through friends in high school or strangers or college friends who wrote me about the short, being like, "This is really special, man. Like you should." And so not only was it we had good success, as far as being a finalist in the contest and the random people telling us it was really good, but there was some kind of people who had had cancer wrote me, people that had lost people. So it was kind of like, oh, I think there's something more than just making a video here, and I really want to make one day make this the full story. And then it took 13 years, but we finally got there, and now the movie's all across the world streaming. Yeah.
I'm curious, you said you had a few adaptations, and of course, you lived a movie star kind of a day, experiencing those moments of like, how does this happen in real life? But how much of this film is directly drawn from who you are and what you were experiencing, or and where did you feel the need to intentionally create some distance and take creative liberties? Like, I'm thinking about the streamer that you ran into, particularly when you were looking for a cassette player.
Oh, yes, that's played by Tiffany Chen, this incredible actress. She plays Tommy, the
Mhm.
YouTube conspiracy theorist streamer.
Yeah.
And So I would say, so there's obviously it's a movie, but the way we met in the coffee shop is pretty close to verbatim. Um, you know, like I said, some things, like I think her cat was sick, but in this, we decided to make them looking for a dog. Um, and then all the way up to the final speech in the hospital is verbatim how the last time I saw my dad. That is like literally if you had asked me a year or two ago or a few years ago, like how did it happen, I would tell you that exact monologue. It
Wow.
is like, and here's the crazy part: I never told anyone that. Like my brother didn't know about that. My dad didn't know about that. For those who haven't watched the movie, basically at the end, Jay, who the film's about Jay and Danny, who meet and then spend the day together. But Jay wants to do this comedy show, and instead of uh, telling hack jokes that he's been trying out all day, he tells the last time he saw his dad, and it is the true story of the last time I saw my dad. And at the time, I believe I saw a miracle. You know, um, so but I never told my mom that. I never told my dad. I didn't tell anyone. That was like me and my dad's little secret. So then that was kind of weird because people, my best friends, my friends who were there, while my dad was sick, who knew my dad their whole lives, who knew me, forever. Um, they had no idea. And so like yeah, when I showed it to my mom for the first time, that was kind of the only time she heard what my version of that last moment with him. Um, so that was kind of surreal because I kind of forgot that I forgot to tell people. So I made it and then I kind of forgot. So all that, those are the parts that I think are like word for word. The funness of the film, of where the people they run into, um, those kind of things are almost everything is based off people I know or people I've run across in my life. Not even necessarily, one for one, this person is that person, but like, like in the coffee shop where we meet that woman who says she can see, you know,
Yeah.
no one's ever told me quite that, but I've had people tell me that they can feel, you know, my
Yeah.
dad or have visions, and I'm like, okay, all right. So I kind of sometimes I'm kind of combining stereotypes and archetypes of people, especially living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Um, and so much of the film is my love letter to LA and,
Mm,
you know, my love of it, and all the wacky characters in it.
mm,
But also too at the end, the coming together of people to help me at these times, you
mm.
know, is based off my real relations with my friends.
Yeah.
Um, and then, oh, the other thing is that comedy show that is based off a true story too. My
Okay.
friend Matt Bronger, who's a comedian, he was on Mad TV and has a bunch of Netflix specials. Every every year, I think in June or July, he would throw a backyard birthday party at our friend's house,
Mhm.
and they built a stage and all these great comedians would come and, you know, have a show or whatever. And so I kind of used that combined with the real day to kind of create one cohesive narrative.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm curious. I mean, we often talk about how laughter is so necessary in our grief process, and when we can start finding humorous again is a really big deal for those of us who are unsure if we'll ever laugh again. So I'm curious, when did you notice laughter taking hold again? And how did you decide, yeah, this is going to be a funny movie? Because so many films and stories that people create about loss lean a little more toward the heavy side, toward the more somber or reflective side. And your movie contains much of that, but it's definitely funny.
Well, thank you. You know, there was a there was a moment. This is I don't think I've told anyone this story, so I'll tell you, Mandy. There was a part where when my dad was sick and not passed yet, you know, and where we kind of had to make the decision that he's not going to get better, and we're gonna, you know, pull the plug, as they say. And this is I broke. I just like broke down. Like it was the moment that it dawned on me that
Yeah.
this is, you know, we had the decision, but it I think it kind of the finality of it happened, you know, because my mom and dad were about to or they built a house in Thailand and they were going to move back home because my mom's from Thailand. That's why I'm half Thai. And then I think there was a point, and I remember this sitting in my living room with my mom where you know, I realized he was never going to see that house,
Mm.
and that broke me. Like I lost all control of my body. I just started bawling, and I remember having this almost surreal, almost euphoric moment where I was like, "Oh, oh." So when people say someone's broke, you know, like you hear that, you
Ah,
know, whether they're in war or they're in trauma or just something, and they break. And I was like, oh wow. I broke, like I had no control. Like this is what is going on? Like I can't believe I have no feeling right now. I have
mm,
no control. Sorry, no control of my feelings. It's like something in me broke apart and just flood comes out. And then my mom started crying. But this is really terrible. But she gave a really ugly cry. And it was kind of funny. Not gonna lie. And I remember looking at her and I was thinking, wow, she broke like me, but she's looking kind of funny right now. Like I'm gonna, you know, and I think that was it. And I was just like, oh wow, I guess we just have to move on. You know, I guess we can laugh on it. Like whatever, like it is, the thing that is happening is going to happen, and now we're at like the next stage of that, you know, like I had to instantly accept it and be a part of this new world. And you know, immediately seeing my mom like that, me kind of laughing at it and just seeing all of it, I switched to the mode of like, okay, now you have to take care of your dad's wife, you
mm,
know, like now you have to take care of your dad's son, my brother, you know, you have like it's hard to explain, but like there was a shift in my head where it went from like, okay, will this happen? Will this happen? Is he going to pass? And then knowing that it's going to happen, and then realizing what you need to do now to take care of the family going forward.
Mm.
Um, so, and ironically, that same guy, that same comedian, Matt Bronger, a couple years later, did a comedy special on Netflix, and he talks about this, where he's like, I forgot his exact story, but it was something about he was going through a terrible, terrible time, and then he saw something extremely funny that
Mm.
he probably shouldn't have laughed at, just like me. And he says, angels will find you when you need them.
Mm.
And that's what it was for me. I realized my mom was being that angel. My mom was being so, and if you knew my mom, she wouldn't care. She's goofy. She just is hilarious. And in that moment, seeing her like that, I think was the thing that made me snap out of it and being like, okay, like
Mm.
that's the angel I needed. I needed to
Mm.
see her like that so then I could kind of step up and be the take that next step for us as a family and
Mm.
lead us through this next challenging part.
Yeah.
Because like in the movie, like it's you think when you have a parent or someone in the hospital, you think it's just gonna end fast and simple, but it's not. It's they don't tell you all this stuff, like when you pull the plug, you have to sit there for like a long time, and
Yeah.
and you just wait until I think they technically suffocate kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it's like I think I was there for like 6 hours, you know?
Mm.
So it's kind of like these are the things they don't tell you that you can only find out in person. And so that's kind of where a lot of this comes from. And also too, my dad was really funny. My dad was hilarious. And when our grandpa died, his dad, he gave a speech at the funeral. And it was hilarious. Like it was one of the funniest things I ever. He made a joke and everyone laughed. And I remember telling him, I was like, "Yo, I can't believe you made that joke," And he was like, "Oh yeah, you know." And then he was like, "But some of Grandpa's friends were there, so I had another one, but I didn't want to say it." And then so he told me the joke, and I was like, "Okay, well I got to use that when you die." And he was like, "Well, you better." So when my dad passed, I sent the joke out, and so I think he always gave us permission to laugh at this. As a
Yep.
family, we were very much um, well aware of talking about life and talking about death, and
Hmm.
I will always talk about death. I'm not scared of it. Just it's I think I know people don't like talking about death, but I find it weird that other people won't. It's being born and dying are the only two guarantees we have, and we only will talk about half of it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I'm trying to do with the movie is to let people know, and it's not for everyone. Everyone has their own way of healing. Like I said, it's not linear. But for some of us who find that laughter is the best form of medicine, or maybe it's not the best form of medicine all the time, and maybe you need a good 10 years away from your situation, but maybe one day you do need a good laugh and you need to see that oh yeah, some of the stuff I saw that I didn't laugh at were now that I look back at it, were kind of funny, like ugly tears are can be funny, like in comedies you'll cut to someone Will Ferrell laughing hysterically and we find it so funny and sometimes that happens in real life. Yeah.
Yeah. You just landed on the piece I wanted to ask about next as well, because 13 years is a really long creative runway.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does take us a decade of time, some distance to move away from the intensity and be able to see the nuance and gain permission for ourselves to laugh. Sometimes we're so in our stuff in the middle of it that we can be offended by other people laughing or finding humor in the moment. And I think the complexity of life and death needs time and space in order to be real, to be realized, to be something that we can hold lightly, like hold with open hands, but also be able to say, this was wonderful and hysterical. And that is a super important aspect of our stories as we tell them, even if it takes us 13 years to get there to telling it. So I'm really curious, like, what about this kept pulling you back into, no, I want to make sure this story is here? You've explored so much nuance and expression in yourself. And what is it that kept you so dedicated to turning this into a full-fledged film?
Wow. There's a couple things there. I mean, one, it's like people always ask, like, oh, like, why'd you pick this film? Or like, why? And I always tell them, like, I didn't want to pick this film.
Right.
I didn't want to tell this story. I said this at our premiere, like, I would rather have not have this story. I'd rather make a different movie and have my dad in the crowd watching that one.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that happened to me. This is probably, I've talked about it so much that, I am that guy. Like, even in the film, like, I tried to poke that around, like, this idea that, like, when you come back, everyone knows you as the guy with the dead dad. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
You nailed that part.
so, everyone's like, oh, it's you, right? And you're like, yeah, or even to this day, I'll see someone will be like, oh, what's the movie about? I'm like, oh, it's the time my dad, and everyone's first thing, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's been 15 years. Like, we're good. Like, there's a movie about it. Like, you don't have to
Now you
apologize,
can be like, it's awesome. It's actually, I made a hysterical movie about it. You should really
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, for me, it was kind of like, you know, this is the if I'm gonna do it, I have to do this one. And I was always, and ironically, I was very much, one of my favorite movies is the Before Sunrise and Before Sunset with Ethan Hawke, and very similar thing about two strangers who just meet and they spend the day. Not your typical movie. Just two people walking around talking about life and catching up and things like that. So I'd love that kind of format, and I think also when it happened in real life, I think that's part of me why I said, "Oh, this is going to be a movie," because it felt like I was watching these kind of movies that I love to watch. Um, but then there was a point too, like my whole life, I wanted to be a feature film director, and I just, you know, couldn't pull it off. And then I was kind of stuck in this vicious cycle of wanting to make a movie and never doing it, and then you kind of find yourself in this trap forever. But to the point that I quit at one point, had a real conversation with myself in the mirror saying, you're not a feature film director, and that's okay. Go, like, I have a great job. I work in sports. Like, I get to make videos for sports all day. Like, I could travel the world going to the World Cup, and Super Bowl and World Series. So I need to take a break from it. And then I took enough of a break. And then, when you're hungry again, you'll be hungry. You'll know. And so I came back to it, and there was like, okay, if you're gonna do one film, like, you kind of promised yourself your whole life that you're gonna be a film director, like, you should do one just to see, and it should be this one because this is the film about your family. So if no one watches it, if it stinks, if even if you make a bad movie, at least you did it.
Yeah.
I always said, like, I have no problem if people don't like the movie. That's fine. If you don't like my writing, if you don't like my directing, my editing, you don't like anything, that's fine. You can say I'm a bad director. I honestly do not care. But what you can't say is I didn't try. So we can set that bar. Like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, like, say what you want, but I said I was going to do something and I did it.
Yeah.
So I take pride in that. So I think that was kind of going, and I did. I think this was, you know, I wanted to tell a story about my family. It's a love letter to my friends, my family, obviously my dad, and to my city. So who knows what'll happen to me in the future, where I'll be, what career I'll have, all these things.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have one definitive, like, project. And
Yeah.
for filmmakers, it is the feature film. For right now, if you're a figure skater, it's the Olympics. If you're a football player, it's the Super Bowl or getting into the league. For filmmakers, it's, for people who don't know, that's kind of the high bar. That's the one that, when you get into this, yeah, you like TV, yeah, you like these things, but everyone wants to do a feature because that's kind of your your doctorate or your calling card. And so I wanted to, if I was going to do one, like, I kind of wanted it to be special.
Yeah.
and be exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Because, if I do another film, I hopefully will have a bigger budget and,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Because it's a very small film, we didn't spend too much on it, all self-financed through friends and family and stuff. So, if I was to do something else, I'd be using other people's money. And when you use other people's money, you have to answer to them and you have
Give
to
you
make the film like,
constraints. Yeah.
yeah, which is fine. That's part of the game. But if I don't have to do that, I can make this film exactly how I want. I can put in all the little jokes that other people would ask me to take out, or
Yeah.
like, what is this part? And you're like, don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's
Yeah.
it's a weird joke I've been telling my best friend for 40 years, so
Yeah.
it stays. It's
That's right.
mine. So yeah.
I'm curious, was there anything when you were creating the script and putting this all together that felt almost too personal to include? Or was there anything you just thought, nope, this isn't going to go in there? It's just for me.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I don't, off the top, I don't think so. I think there was actually, to kind of go back to your other point about it being comedy, when I was struggling writing it, for a long time and figuring it out, like I always knew the coffee shop, I had that figured out, and I had the speech at the end figured out. Those were the parts that were real. Like I just had to write down what actually happened. And the middle was the part you have to figure out. And I was struggling for a while, and then there was a part in the writing where I said to myself, what are you doing? You do comedy. Like I've done comedy my whole life. That's what I do. Prior to sports, I did comedy, web films, things like that. All my friends do comedy. Like that's what we do. We do comedy. So that's when I really was like, oh, okay, okay. So now we can name the cat the Pussy King. We can have a crazy Alex Jones conspiracy theorist that's played by Tiffany. We can do all the crazy stuff now because we're making a comedy, and that's comedy's tough.
It
Like
is.
making
It's
people
very
laugh
hard.
is very, very hard. I knew people would cry. That part's easy. And you just go, "Hey, look, oh, my dad died. I'm sad." And people go, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry." Like it's like, unfortunately that's the easy part.
Yeah.
Um, so it's the challenge is making people laugh. So that was definitely a part of it. Is like there was a switch where I was like, just make it funny, man. Like you have the serious stuff. No one's gonna question whether it's serious or not.
Mm.
But as far as things I left out, no. If anything, there was a part where once I said let's make it a comedy, then I was like, well, just go for it, man. Like again, um, this might be your only shot. Our motto making the film was always one film. Like if you told me I had to make two films in 12 days for 100 grand, I said, I don't think I can do that. Uh, but I probably could make one. And through our cast and crew, I had a wonderful cast, a wonderful crew. Everyone just did favors and worked for way less than they deserved to help me out. And, we were all just saying like, let's just work really hard and try to see if we can make one really good film. Um, and so going back to the earlier point of like, yeah, so this is going to be your one film. If this is it, you got to put everything in there, you know? So that's kind of when, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tell the story about how I used to watch my mom pee herself because she did. And that's the life. That's how I grew up. My mom would be watching Leave It to Beaver and start laughing. And we'd be like, why are you laughing so hard? And she tried running to the bathroom and she'd end up peeing herself. And we'd be like, wow. And so like, I think it also helps my wife see why I'm so weird. Is like if I put it all out there, she's like, like
Yeah.
sometimes we'll go to Thailand and visit my mom and then my mom will do something and then I'll be like, "Yeah, see? Like that's where I get it from. Like that's what I
This
thought
is
was normal." So
all
like
natural.
it's all, like this is what you're dealing with, babe. So
I love
but
that.
yeah.
John, I'm curious, how did giving yourself permission and space to create this film and express what you were going through with losing your dad, how did it change your relationship to grief and your father's memory?
You know, I don't know if it changed much. I think because The film has changed. I would say it changed me in how I talk to people about it.
Mm,
In a way, like I said, I can talk about death all anytime. I really don't care. Like I'm just an open book when it comes to that stuff.
mm,
Um, and so I think that has allowed me to talk to other people about it. And that's been great. Like being able to share my story and to talk to other people um, from my point of view and my angle, to talk about a heavy topic and to be able to laugh and make fun of it. And, because in a lot of spaces you can't, a lot of spaces you're in these heavy things and it isn't appropriate to, I wouldn't talk about someone else's parents dying in the way that I talk about mine.
right.
I wouldn't laugh at someone else's pain, but I can only laugh through my pain. So it's really changed in that is that I feel like, one of my goals has been for making the movie is to, again, help people who either need a laugh, uh, to get a surprise laugh here when they didn't expect it,
Mm.
or the opposite for the people who do want to laugh but feel, uh, am I allowed to laugh? Like I want to laugh, but it's like, no, you can. You can go on. People invite you on podcasts and let you talk about your dad and make fun of him. Like people do it. So I like to be that example. Like I'm big into this idea that we have from such a young age, we're taught the rules of society. We're taught how you're supposed to behave. Again, if you say your dad died, immediately you have to say, I'm so sorry. And it's like, great. You never met him. You don't know anything about him. He could have been a mass murderer. Like but everyone has to say, I'm sorry. So it's funny to me how we have these things, these scripts in our heads that we assume are going to happen. So I try to kind of break those down for people, and just show you that, yeah, not everyone's the same. Like we have different meanings, and just because I'm laughing doesn't mean I'm sad. I'm not sad.
Right.
I'm really sad. But this is the way I deal with it. So if that can help someone to hear someone else's side, then great. Then I did it. Then all of this was worth it.
John, you said something a little bit ago about how your silliness and your playfulness, like it came from your mom, and this is why you are who you are. And that's what allows you to be able to address grief and loss in this way. And I will say this, my mom died 10 years ago now. And this morning I was being ridiculous and acting out and being playful. And my husband was trying to focus and he turned his head and said, your mom is giving me a hug right now, just saying, you poor sweet boy. Thank you for taking her on. And it made me stop and laugh because that's exactly it. I was ridiculous and would quote Tom Green. Do you remember
Yo,
Tom?
I loved.
Okay,
Oh,
very
your bum is on your
dumb.
lips.
That
Love
is
Tom Green.
exactly what I would do. I would quote him to get out of trouble in high school by making my mom laugh all the time. So
Because you
I
can't get in trouble if you make your parents laugh.
you
That's
can't.
the
I was
rule.
never in
No,
trouble. I was
no.
always making her
Yep.
laugh. And his presence of mind and like awareness of who I am in that moment to turn and say that, it stopped me in my tracks just to take a moment of like, oh my gosh, the laughter of it. There's no moment where it's only funny that that's what I did, or it's only sad that mom's not here to see it for herself. It was absolutely both. It had to
Yeah,
be.
it
And it
has to
was
be.
wonderful that he had that moment of thinking like, God, she's been like this since she was little. And my mother-in-law dealt with this. And now I get to deal with this. And she knew what this was. Just all of that, like you said, allowing that kind of humor to be present and allowing that story to be told is what brings us more into our fullness of our humanity and lets us talk about death in a way that doesn't feel restrictive or dangerous, even.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are truly trying to honor that person,
Mm,
and um, like for me, yeah, like who knows my dad better than me? Who knows your mom better than you? So like for someone to say like, "Oh, I can't believe you're not taking it serious." I mean, you're like, No, this is us being serious."
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
me making fun of my dad, me making fun of my mom, that's me showing love.
Yeah.
That's my dad at his dad's funeral. You know,
Yeah.
that's what it is. I'm from Philadelphia. We show love by making fun of each other.
Yeah.
That's the East Coast. That's our code. We just will, look at this bum. This guy's an idiot. Why you listen to him? That's me saying I love you, you
Mm.
know?
And it's not
Um,
insincere. I think that's the other
no.
part of it that, I have a kiddo that is dealing with being bullied, and I talk about, insecurity is what makes us mock others. But there's a difference. It's not because what you're saying is not about being cruel or mean. What you're talking about is this is the sincerest form of expression of compassion and love and adoration. I love you so much, you big dumb idiot, in the
Yeah.
most loving way,
In the
right?
most loving way. And
Yeah.
if you didn't think if you weren't making fun of me, then
Hmm.
I don't know if I trust you
You're
because
being
you're
far
putting
too
up,
sincere right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or you're being fake
Yeah.
because I'm
I am.
clearly not smart. I'm an idiot. Like I do dumb stuff all day long. Like just for I
Yeah.
what was it the other day? Me and my wife were laughing. I was supposed to go take the trash. I was supposed to do something, go downstairs and grab something, and I went all the way downstairs and I didn't bring it with me. So I went to the dumpster and said, "Wait, I don't have the trash bag in my hand." And then I had to walk back up, and I told my wife. I walked in and I go, yeah, I'm an idiot. I walked downstairs to the trash and didn't bring the trash." And she was like, ugh. She's like, "Well, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, but I think you're an idiot." And I was
You're
like,
good at other things, probably.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is. So yeah, so that's kind of what that is a goal of the movie. I hope,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can only put the art out there
Yeah.
and see. But yeah, that was kind of one of our goals too, is like, you know, um, making it was like, okay, can I make, I know I can't make everyone's favorite movie. Like that's an impossible like there's people out there that tell you The Godfather stinks. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. Um, but the idea was, can I make someone's favorite movie?
Mm.
Can I make that person who did just lose a parent, that's going through it, laugh a little, help them a little?
Yeah.
Can I can it be that one, you know, that mixed race Asian kid that has never really seen himself on camera, or the Korean person who my wife's Korean, so a lot of the jokes are based on being Korean, and like the people who go like that joke was written for me, dude, and I was like, yes, it was, so can I make someone's favorite movie? Can I
Yeah.
make my crew's favorite movie? Can the people who work on this at such a low rate and doing me a favor leave being happy and not feel exploitive or, oh, I can't believe I wasted it on this dumb movie, the movie stinks. And I think we did that. And then also, can I make my favorite movie? Can I be proud of this? Can I, at the end, what we talked about early, like, can I put in everything that I wanted in it so that, if I don't ever get to do this again, I can still go and be like, hey, I did it though. I didn't want to second guess myself. So I really wanted to put every single thing that I've ever wanted into this and be as honest and truthful as possible so that I'm proud of it,
Yeah.
and I am. So
Good.
mission accomplished, I guess.
As you should. Absolutely. Not even, I
Yeah.
guess. Yes. Mission accomplished. Okay, John, if someone is listening right now and they're in any stage of their loss, early days, middle, decades out, what is one thing that you learned through the process of creating this film that you want them to hold on to?
Uh, I would say not so much of in the process of making this film. But one thing that I definitely learned was, or will tell people, is it does get better. I do think time heals all wounds. Um, Not completely heals them, but heals them in as much as it can. And I think that's one thing that I like to tell people because um, it's really tough. It's so funny that I mentioned earlier, like I'm the guy, I'm the dead dad guy, right? Like that's the movie. It's like he's the dead dad guy. Now he's on the podcast talking about it, and he's gonna always talk about it and blah blah blah. But in that moment, when it happens, you're in such pain and you don't understand it, right? Like that. And even though I'm that guy, when I find out someone else's parents died, I don't have any good advice.
Agreed.
If anything, I feel like I'm worse,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm kind of like, I don't know, buddy. Like, watch the movie. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, it sucks. Like, I don't know what else to say except it hurts. It's gonna hurt for a really, really long time. It's gonna hurt on days you don't expect it to hurt. You know,
Mm.
you're gonna. It's like I said. Uh, you know, healing is not linear. You know, that first year is the hardest by far. You know, it's going to be that first Thanksgiving, you don't go home and see your dad. It's going to be that first Christmas, you don't go see your mom, you know. Uh baseball starting, you know, we used to go to opening day together. Not going to
Mm.
have, you know, there's all these reminders throughout the year that it's that person's not there anymore,
Yeah.
you know. Um the one of the hardest days I had was I, you know, it was months after, you know, I thought I was doing good. I thought I was doing well, coming through it. And I go to Best Buy and I had to buy a hard drive. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, which drive should I buy? Oh, I know who I'd call. Let me call my, oh, oh. I just started crying in a Best Buy.
Yeah.
And this was months, maybe even a year after. And it was just that idea, you know, I thought I was good, everything I was moving along, you know, again, the healing chart is going up, up, up. And then you're in Best Buy and you just realize like, well, I need a new hard drive advice guy, you know, and it just takes you out.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you learn, you grieve, you kind of get through it, you know. So really the only advice I have is it does get better, you know, it's just going to hurt forever. And then you'll never fully heal from certain losses, but you kind of learn to live with it. You kind of learn to deal with these times, you know, and then you learn to find ways to live through it. And like you said, sometimes it's dancing in the living room in the morning. You know, you find ways that, you know, I don't think these people are gone, you know, they're still with you. They're just with you in a different way,
Yep.
you know. Um, so those kind of things, you know, like where you just kind of like learn. So it does get easier, you know, it does. But that's kind of that's really it, you know. It's really that would be it. I would say for anyone who has experienced a loss like that, you know, there really isn't good advice. Like there's I, like and the other thing too, I'd also say this: if you're a friend that has a friend who lost a parent or a loved one or something, obviously send your condolences, right? But don't beat yourself up for not solving their problem.
Yeah.
Because I've had people do that to me.
Mm.
Come later and apologize, like, I should have been there for you. I can't believe. And I was
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I
It's so
thought you
hard.
texted me. You know, like when someone's
Yeah.
in that, they're not sitting there with a checklist of seeing who called me, who didn't. You know,
Yeah.
outside maybe people who like, yeah, if your brother didn't call you after, you know, you might be
Yeah.
like, okay, that's weird. You know, there's certain people
Yeah.
where like you expect, but outside of saying, I'm sorry, man, I'm here for you, hit me up if you need me, there's not much the grieving person can do. You know, if
Yeah.
anything, it's almost overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
I had a
Well,
friend, this I had a friend actually who did that. He's you know, his dad got sick, he passed away. And it was the first time we were seeing it. It was a annual party kind of thing. And we ran into him and he told us, you know, we're like, oh my gosh, you know, and then he was like, I don't want to tell anyone tonight. I don't want this whole night to be me explain. You know, I just kind of I don't want this to be the thing.
yeah.
And I was like, I feel that, man. You know, like can you get one more party in before you become, you know,
Mm.
a whole bunch of condolences and I'm sorry's and things like that. So
Yeah.
again, if you have a friend that goes through that, send your love, tell them, be check in on them, but also don't beat yourself up for someone else's healing not being linear, you
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah. And I mean, that's super honest to say, I don't know what to say. And I think that's a good thing. I think that we, like to your point there at the end, the pressure we create for ourselves to say the right thing or do enough or do more is often the least supportive and helpful thing that we can offer. And so if we are honest and say, I actually know less now, which is okay, then we can show up with a casserole and a bottle of wine and say, we're going to watch this movie. It's called Above the Clouds. It's going to say things I don't know how to say. Okay, great. We
Yeah,
can relate
yeah,
that way.
yeah, exactly. So I think again, people have such a hard time talking about death, and it's just hard. It's not
Yeah.
easy. So don't beat yourself up for it. Don't, because honestly, the person is going through so much.
Yeah.
They're just getting a bunch of texts that say sorry, and you're like, cool.
Well,
I don't
Jon,
know.
thank you for being here. I'm going to have the link to the streaming sources for Above the Clouds in the show notes, but where can people find out more about you and the work that you do and just relate to you and hear more about your humor?
Well, thank you, Mandy, so much. Yeah, you can go to abovethecloudsfilm.com. And then it's streaming most places. The best way, if you can, is to buy it on Amazon. I get, it's the only place I actually get money from. But if you can't, if money's tight right now, which I understand is, it's streaming for free on Tubi and on YouTube, um, with ads and stuff. Um, and yeah, I guess you can keep up with me on my Instagram sometimes, but I have a really weird relationship with social media. So
We all
I
do.
did.
Like,
Yeah. So I think here's the thing. I change my Instagram name every time I post, which as someone who works in social media, I do. I will tell you that is a terrible strategy.
it doesn't work.
It does not work to tell people a name that disappears in a few days.
Uh-huh.
But it's something like Hill underscore aka Dust Streaming King, I think today, but who knows? If I post something else, it'll be something else. So I think it all
Noted.
started with the Pasta King because I used to make where when I post pictures of me making pasta. And then now it's just whatever it is. But you can find me. I'm out there. But yeah, the film's out there. I will say there is a older film called Above the Clouds. Um,
There is.
don't watch that. Don't watch that. I don't know what it's. I don't know. It might be good, but find the one with Kyun Kim and Chris Labadie who play Jay and Danny. They're on bikes, and yeah, find that one, and then buy that one. That would be great. That'd be really great, so I can give some people their money back.
Everybody buy Above the Clouds on Amazon so Jon can pay back everybody that invested in him.
Yes,
And
yes.
thank you so much for making this
Oh,
film, for
thank
being
you.
honest about your heart and for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a great privilege. I love talking about this stuff. So thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for listening to episode 239 of Restorative Grief. I hope this conversation with Jon, his honesty, and his reflections on grief, humor, and healing brought you a little comfort, some insight, or some inspiration for your own grief journey. And by the way, if you haven't found something to laugh about in your grief journey, don't panic. That doesn't mean you're doing this wrong or that you'll never laugh again. Just means that this is a really good opportunity for you to look inward, consider with a little levity what might make you smile today. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave a shiny 5-star review so new listeners can find this work and find if it fits for them as well. You can also become a patron of the show to gain access to our monthly workbook, which includes reflections and activities designed to help each episode be more applicable and more intentional for you and your own grief work. Thank you to all of my past and present patrons. You are the reason this work continues. And as always, before we go, one last thing. Please remember, the only solution for grief is to do the work of grieving. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.